All right, welcome everybody. This is Tesla Today. My name is Herbert. So as you've been seeing, the Tesla stock has been skyrocketing. This morning, there was breaking news that China is going to extend their tax exemption. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to have 7 videos today that we're going to show you everything about Giga Shanghai. We're going to do a deep dive and Tesla's opportunity in Shanghai. We're going to introduce you to Grace Tao and Tom Ju. And so that's why we've got our good friend, Brian White, here with us. He's the host of My Tesla Weekend, and he himself does deep dives in the gigafactories on Tesla everything. You got to check out his videos. Welcome, Brian. Thank you for joining me.
Great to be here. As always, happy Friday to you, Herbert, and everyone out there getting brighter.
Everybody getting brighter. Okay, hold on. So I will share this screen. Boom. Here we go. So I think the first thing we need to do is talk about the stock. So this is something that's happened to Tesla's stock in the last month. You can see it all the way down from the 160s, and it skyrocketed to right now this morning at 216. It might go up, might go down. We'll see in a couple hours here. But, this is the last few days it skyrocketed, Brian. What were you thinking? Is that because of the rumored Highland? Is that because of his visit to China? We know it got kicked off because when he announced a Twitter CEO that cleared off any kind of remaining doubts of Tesla, and now we're on our way up. What were you thinking about why this has been jumping at all?
There's a few things. The first one, going back a little bit, was there were big rumors swirling that on shareholder meeting day, he would announce that he's stepping down from Tesla as well. Of course, that's not the case. He doubled down. The next one was the macro itself has been improving. That's always a big deal. The numbers are looking reasonable. The market is quieted a bit. The NASDAQ is up. When the NASDAQ goes up, generally speaking, it's because all of its components did as well. But you've also got things like the Ford announcement. That's a big deal. That means that NACS is not likely to be pushed out as the de facto standard.
Right.
At the very least, it will remain a second standard. It may become the dominant standard. All that's good for the North American market. It means tens of thousands of superchargers that don't have to be retrofitted in the future. And then you've got the visit to Shanghai, there was no big news, but there was a lot of little good news, and all of it helped. He looked like a very strong leader of a very strong company, and that's something the market definitely wanted to see. And I guess you could add in that they were finally added back to the ESG, the very silly rating that apparently some people still take seriously.
Yeah.
It's I don't put any faith in it, but some people do, and for them, Tesla's back on the list.
You got a good list there. Thank you, Brian. That was fantastic. So the breaking news that happened this morning is that it says here shares of the EV makers all went up because China announced that they're going to extend the purchase tax exemption for new energy vehicles. Tesla shares went up, Rivian, Nikola, and then even the Chinese shares have all gone up. Okay, so this is something that I looked up and found out the history of it. So it looks like that since 2014, China has been exempting the purchase of low emission vehicles from a vehicle purchase tax. And this has been renewed several times over the years and still enforced. And so for them to renew it, it's nothing brand new necessarily, but it's still very good news. And this is the battery. This is all vehicles, new electric vehicles, not just battery electric vehicles. And according to the state administration taxation, this exemption over the year 2023 is expected to waive 100 billion yuan, which is $15 billion in taxes. So significant exemption. That's great news, as we've been seeing, right, Brian? I mean, we're seeing the Tesla Model Y still the number one sale, and it's just continued to grow. So,
and that's huge. The other big change in it, I know it was proposed, I think it passed, was extending it to say not 250 miles of battery only range, but 250 kilometers, but 300 kilometers, which means now the minimum battery only range on these vehicles to qualify as a new energy vehicle is 160, 180 miles, 186 miles, something like that, which bumps out a lot of the less serious vehicles. I mean, the Mazda MX-6 wouldn't qualify. The Honda Fit would not qualify for this exemption because their range is too short. And those are companies we've traditionally thought of as very serious players. Maybe they're not. So this is, and $15 billion a year is real money. That's a very big incentive. And it's what China feels they need to do to keep pushing forward with cleaner air, cleaner everything.
Yeah. I forgot to take a screenshot of another news that came this morning, which is that electric vehicles are now 10% of the global car sales. Also,
Wow.
1 in 10 cars being sold right now globally is an electric vehicle.
Wow.
And 1/5 of that, so two out of 100, is a Tesla. So Martin Viecha, who's the investor relations for Tesla, sent out a note that's saying that 10% mark is actually very significant, right? It's a critical point. And I agree with him. Like, there's this moment when a certain incumbent, when there's an incumbent technology that's being taken over through a disruptive technology, there comes a time, 5%, 10%, 15%, when it hits that, it's over. It's like it just skyrockets at this point. So we're at the 10% mark. It's amazing.
It happened pretty quickly, considering how long it takes to build the pieces to make it happen. It's not like software where you can just push a button and roll it out. These actually, you have to build factories, and then you have to build cars, and then you have to sell cars and charge cars.
Yeah.
So it is a very big deal.
It's a big deal. Okay, let's go watch Elon visiting China. This is amazing what happened in the last few days. We've got a lot of information we're going to share, so let's watch this. So this is Elon walking. You can see that he's there with Grace Tao, and he's also there with Tom Zhu. They're the top executives. We're going to share you information today about these two people. We're going to talk about them a little bit more and a bit more about Giga Shanghai. Model X, look at that. Beautiful. What a great advertisement. This was shown everywhere. Every newscast showed that. And then this article was talking about Tom. Not only was Jamie Dimon and also Tim Cook visited China as well, but these are top executives of U.S. corporations visiting China, and everybody, all the top ministers, we're going to talk about them as well, met with Elon. So, I mean, come on. Brian, tell me, man, why is the China government rolling out the red carpet for these top executives, and yet we see our own U.S. government not inviting Elon, not doing something like this in a big way? Elon, Tesla is, and SpaceX, and if you combine all the Musk companies together.
Why are we not seeing this summit taking place in the US? That's a great question. China wants to push forward on every front, and they're doing it. Elon being there during that summit, I'm sure, is no coincidence, because in Shanghai, on that week, you would have all of the top world leaders of companies, but also all of the top ministers from around the world, ambassadors, heads of state, and of course, all of the important people in China. So yeah, they're going to discuss everything. They're going to discuss expansion in China. They're going to discuss it in other countries. If we can get a meeting, they're going to discuss cooperation with other companies. Who knows? Maybe Chase wants to roll out some Tesla specific financing. It's all on the table at that point, and you've got all the right people in the same place at the same time.
Okay, so let's go ahead and share some more videos. We're going to talk about Giga Shanghai. You are one person who really knows Giga Shanghai very well. You're going to share a lot of your data about that. But let's remind people what it looked like 3 years ago. This is the third. Elon has not been back since the opening of Giga Shanghai 3 years ago. And then from there, we're going to share videos of him talking to the Giga Shanghai employees. And then we'll share videos of Grace Tao and Tom Zhu. We're going to show videos of the inside the factory and outside the factory. So lots of us to share. Let's start with, this is 3 years ago, what happened when they launched Giga Shanghai.
Is that right?
That's Tom Zhu. That's Grace Tao. Elon was very happy. He started dancing. What I love to see here is Grace. She walks away first, try to be respectful. And then I think she joins in on the dancing.
What we're witnessing is the birth of a meme.
Oh, okay.
Many memes were born that day.
That video did not show Grace dancing, but she did. And the point I was going to make was, as we watch more videos of Elon in China, he just seemed very happy. He seemed relaxed. Is it because of China, or is it like all these things are going really well right now? What's your
It's absolutely both. It's absolutely both. It is in that video, what we're looking at is the launch of Shanghai. And throughout its construction, everyone kept saying it's just a mud field, it's a boondoggle, this is just hype to make the stock look good. And I'm not sure it did, because you remember the big dip of 2019 happened when this factory was about half finished. And it was already evident to me. That's why I bought at that time. I bought strictly on the strength. CyberTruck was just an idea. It hadn't been shown. I bought strictly on the strength of Fremont and what I could see was about to come in Shanghai, because that thing was going up lightning fast. Tesla fast plus China fast. It was done in a hot hurry. And this was the realization. We can build these cars here. It's starting. It has started. The vehicles were already parked outside. And he could, by being there, you get to see things that you can't necessarily get from a report. You can see the build quality. You can see all the stations. You can see how it's actually going to work. And he had to know what the rest of us suspected, which was that it was about to become an absolute powerhouse. And what he's looking at today, the reason he's just as happy today is he's seen it. Well, he hasn't been there in 3 years. Some travel restrictions may have been imposed during that time on global transportation. He gets to see the Model Y line in person for the first time. He knows what it looks like. He's seen a mirror of it in Berlin, but he gets to see what it looks like when it's running at full speed. He gets to see everything that's changed. He gets to reconnect with all the faces he's only seen on Zoom for a while. And it's all just working. It's doing it has to at least match his expectations. But for many of them, it's got to exceed them, because certainly something would go wrong, and not much has.
Not much has. It's been amazing. So this is Elon visiting Shanghai, and he gave a speech talking about how great they are. So we can watch that right now.
Thank you for being here late at night. I would like to just very much congratulate you on the amazing work that you've done. It's been incredibly impressive how you have been able to overcome so many difficulties and so many challenges. And I just want to let you know, it's like, it warms my heart, you know. And I tell people in throughout the world, the cars we produce here are not just the most efficient production, but also the highest quality. I just feel like there's so much that gets accomplished. There's so much positive energy for getting things done that actually, I think, will be very important, not just for Tesla, but also for the world.
And doesn't this make you feel good as an investor, as a fan, seeing him in a positive, upbeat role as the leader we know he is? And as always, he's thanking the people doing the actual work, the actual engineering. And he's not kidding about the build quality. The made in China, oh, China makes junk. Guys, get over it. It's not 1987 anymore. It's not even 2005 anymore. The iPhone is an exceptional phone, and it was primarily built in China. They know how to make stuff. Then you've got when the cars got to Europe, the first thing people looked at was quality. How's the build? The fit and finish is exceptional. It is as good as anything on the road in Europe. How is the longevity? We have not seen a difference in failure rates on any particular components on Chinese-made models 3 and Y than we've seen anywhere else, and probably lower than Fremont. They build a good car.
Yeah. So you said he specifically pointed out the most efficient and the best quality. Is that just like just I'd say that with any team. If I'm in the Buffalo office, I'd say that. If I was in the Silicon Valley office, I'd say that. Or is it really truly true that Giga Shanghai is the most efficient and the best quality?
I haven't heard him say it in Texas, and I haven't heard him say it in Berlin. Every factory has something that it's best at, and I believe he's honest when he lists it. We know it's the most efficient because they're selling cars there significantly cheaper than anywhere else in the world at a 20% markup. That's efficiency. And the build quality, I expect Berlin and Texas to match the build quality. I don't know if they have yet. I've seen mixed reviews of Texas-made Models Y that lead me to believe they're still a bit hit and miss. They're still getting it dialed in, but that they are better than Fremont, which is not surprising.
Sure.
Fremont is a legacy factory with a lot of built-in bad habits from eras bygone.
Eras bygone. Okay. Well, the good news is Tom Ju, which we're going to learn more about him. We're going to listen to him talk. He is now in charge of not just Giga Shanghai, spreading the kind of the efficiency. Yeah. So let's see. I mean, this is the photo that they took, and just look very, very happy again. It thinks everybody really happy. So let's see. Where is everybody? There's Tom Ju here on the bottom right.
Gotcha.
And then there's Grace Tao here.
Okay. So Tom has been with Tesla since 2014. So he's part of the original real movers and shakers at the company. I don't know what he was doing between 2014 and 2019, but he's the Magi of Shanghai. He's the one who made the place run the way it has, and he's been handsomely compensated for it. You can find recent filings with the SEC showing that he has been receiving a fair amount of stock, which I believe is commensurate with his responsibilities and performance. Grace, I don't know as much about, but these people are key. They are key. When shareholders were saying we need a succession plan, there is a succession plan, whether it's published or not. I think publishing it would only give the competition angles from which to attack that aren't necessarily helpful. We know the company is postured in such a way that it would survive just fine without him. It would lack some of the forward-looking vision, perhaps, but there's so much already on the roadmap on which to be executed that it would take 10 or 20 years to get through all of it.
Do you think Tom Ju, where do you think he fits in?
So his role in Shanghai was to get it up and running and make it as efficient as possible, make it the incredible machine that it is. His role now is to replicate that success in all the other factories. So we saw him come over in November and begin work in Fremont to make it as streamlined as possible. And we saw on Investor Day, within a month, he had already reduced the hours, the labor hours required to build a vehicle, and improved efficiency. And that continues. And it will reach a maximum because that factory is designed using a very old philosophy, the kind of philosophy that was cutting edge 30 years ago, but not so much today. And then we've got him going to Texas. And I imagine some of his influence will appear in Berlin as well, but he's not, I think he's only in charge of U.S. automotive production at this time, North American. So then the next big job for him is to get Mexico final designed, built, dialed in. And that's where he's going to be instrumental. He'll be doing a more effective version of what we saw Elon doing during Model 3 production hell. Elon did his best, but he's no Tom Jew. So I think Tom will approach it with an efficiency that and an expertise that Elon could not have possessed at that time.
Well, so I do want to ask you where you think Tom Jew fits in terms of COO, maybe even a future CEO. Some people think that he's not. He would be a great CEO, but not the next CEO. And we know that Elon has told the board. He's publicly told us that the board has already discussed succession planning. But this is a great photo, I thought, because it shows how there's Elon, of course, and there's Tom Jew, and then there's Grace Tao, and probably some sort of, I don't know who this person is, maybe interpreter or something, I don't know. But it's the Chinese government relations with Elon. I think he's no doubt by far no one can replace Elon. He's just amazing statesman. Everybody wants to work with him. Every country treats him like they should be treating with respect, except of course the U.S. They need to bump up their game. But there's Tom Jew. So let's go see what Tom Jew is more like, and then we'll talk more about him. So let's watch him at Investors Day.
So right now we have 4 vehicle factories on 3 continents to serve our markets. The total number of manufacturing employees is over 65,000. This is also including our amazing team in Reno. They are making powertrains, battery packs, and drive unit for our vehicle factories. The total installed capacity in all these vehicle factories about 2 million cars a year. That said, we're always looking for opportunity to grow more capacity from the existing footprint. So you expect this number will grow over time. To build more factories is the start to building more cars, and we're certainly the expert of it. This is the before and after image showing you the progress we made back in 2019 when we built a Gigafactory in Shanghai. So in 9.5 months' time, we built a greenfield project to establish the vehicle factory. And 3 months later, we started to deliver our first customer vehicle. People always ask me, how Tesla can build a factory that fast. Really, we learned from our Fremont factory a lot. We talked to the survivor from the production hell and try to avoid all the mistakes we made. We decided to design a straight line with the minimum number of up and downs and turns for easier manufacturability and easier construction. We also challenged all the assumptions people ever know to build a vehicle factory. When we delete and simplified all the redundancies and the buffers, that's helped us to save a lot of time. Also, we have a very strong in-house construction team in Tesla. If there ever a job cannot be done by others better, and we bring this in-house. So we have this in-house construction team, have a full control over all the activities on site, from design, engineering to construction, site management. So this team didn't just build Giga Shanghai, they also built Giga Berlin, Giga Texas, and Giga Nevada. They're really the hero behind the scenes. Like Lars shared earlier, going forward with the new platform, the more modular design and densified Gigafactory, we'll be able to make more cars from even reduce the footprint. That also means we can build more factories at the same time.
Okay, so what do you think? So first of all, when I hear him speak, I like it. I think that he can speak English very well, of course. He says the word a lot. But I think he's very intelligent. Now, some people said, well, he's okay, but he's not statesman-like and all that. But
I don't need a statesman. I need an executive.
So you're okay? Like it's almost
it's
almost like a Tim Cook. Yeah, it's almost like a Tim Cook rising up to replace Steve Jobs. I think we're almost there, right? I mean, like the gigafactories are basically a product now. They can produce these in, the company's 130,000 employees. Not to say that Elon should leave. Not at all. In fact, I'm so happy that he's recommitted, saying he's going to be CEO. But who's second in command? And I don't mind having a COO, almost like a Gwen Stotwell. Although she apparently strikes deals, strategic partnership deals too. So, what's your thoughts?
So I don't need a hype man. I need an executive. And Tom Ju is inarguably that. He knows his stuff. And public speaking is hard. It is stressful. It is something that took me a lot of time to get comfortable with. Even when I would just record a pre-taped show, it'd be stressful. And he doesn't have the benefit of being able to go back and edit. That was live. He had to do it on the day. And there's only so much practice that'll make you better on your first or second or third try. And that really was his first big show. So I think he did a great job. And it's more important to me to see that he knows what he's talking about rather than speaks eloquently. If you want someone who just speaks well and doesn't know what he's doing, you could look to Peter Rawlinson from Lucid and get that all day. That posh English accent of his does all the heavy lifting. One thing I should mention, I'd mentioned this in a message to you earlier, is that the land adjacent to Gigafactory Shanghai is, according to Matthew Donegan Ryan, who spoke with Tom Ju at Investor Day, is available and is being reserved should Tesla decide to acquire it and expand there. So that is something to keep an eye on. Now, I don't know how much of that land is available, if it's all the way over to the canal. If it is, that's definitely big enough to put in a compact car factory. But even if it's much smaller, you could still put in the Megapack factory, and the Megapack factory would be a huge hit in China. They need that product, and you don't want to have to ship it 6,000 miles whenever possible, if you can avoid doing so. So there's a lot of opportunity there. Now, yeah, I think there's some links you have upcoming that we can talk about that further, but there's definitely some thoughts I have there.
Yeah, I have a question about that. Whether their visit in China was about gig expansion, or was it a production line, or other things. Gig expansion was primary thing. We'll talk about that. Before we move there, though, I want to introduce you to Grace Tao. I know you said you didn't know much about her. Most of us do not know her. She is on many shows in China. She's kind of she's a global vice president, her title, but she really does do a lot of the public speaking, a lot of the relationship buildings in China. She's always in the news out there, but she speaks the Chinese, of course. But I found an old video where but 3 years ago, where she was at least speaking in English, and we can get a sense of who she's like. So let's watch that.
Yeah. Great job.
Thank you.
I'm sure Mr. Elon Musk will be very happy about the China performance.
He is. Yeah, he is.
All generations are
Right.
coming over. Not only the younger ones, but
Right.
also grandmas and grandpas.
Yeah, I think this is actually the big change, and we come to China for over 6 years, and at the first beginning, I think only the young people, and mostly they are doing the technology work, so they really enjoy and like Tesla technology. But today you can see not only the young people and all generations, like you said before, so the grandma and also even some very little kids, they really like this product.
We were struggling our way getting into here right away.
Yeah.
And talking about the technologies, there are different markets, different innovation.
Yeah.
So how is Tesla providing, your part of the contribution to innovation?
I think here have the example, so you can see there have the patents, and actually this is only the small part of patents we have, and we opened all to the public. So we opened over 400 patents to public. So which means all the industry, if they want to build EVs or they want to build, like a charging superchargers, they can use our technology.
These are all Tesla
own
Patents.
Yeah,
And they are open to everyone,
open to everyone,
including to your Chinese competitors.
including everyone. Yeah.
Well, talking about this, how will Tesla as a new global company, try to function in this complexity?
I think Tesla actually, is the new global company. Our Shanghai factory actually is the first overseas factory for Tesla. Yeah, before we only have the factory in United States in the Silicon Valley. So I think we are actually trying to do the very good global company. And for the local market like China, our mission is not only to sell our cars or service our customers. We want to do, actually the full supply chain and all the R&D and the design studio. So we want to have maybe the Chinese design and the Chinese R&D and the Chinese-made cars for China customer.
So will the R&D here different from that taking place in Silicon Valley?
I think they'll have some different, but the focus is to, provide the best product to the local market.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah.
I know you have a full schedule today, so
Thank
I
you.
wouldn't take up too much of your time. Expo.
Yeah.
And that was when your
All right, I had to play the whole thing. There were so many things there. Okay, we got to talk about each one of them, right? They talked about the patents. They talked about the fact that it's the first global expansion for Tesla, and then they talked about that they're doing R&D there. Everything is a little bit different in China. So first of all, Grace Town, right? So looks great. She speaks well. She's very sophisticated, and she speaks English, right? So she can.
Right.
You need to be able to kind of do that, and in a way that's not distracting. So she's actually quite. I'm sure that's part of the reason why she's the full package there. And then the patents. So this was several years ago, and they made an emphasis on the Chinese media that Tesla is opening it up, and then the interview even asked her even the Chinese. So clearly, China has been opening welcome arms with the Western CEOs of top tech companies. They're allowed to come in. They're giving them effort. Although apparently Tesla was the first company where they didn't require, like they can have their own separate real entity, like the Tesla Incorporated can function there without having to give away shares, things like that. But giving away the patents is something that Tesla, China wants to become a global powerhouse for exporting cars, which they never has been a company being able to do that. But with the leap to electric vehicles, with the leap to robotaxi, they saw an opportunity. They did this. What's your overall evaluation of this topic of patents and China trying to finally get into cars and helping BYD and other Chinese companies, grow and succeed?
So the interviewer did an absolutely wonderful job. She asked very good, very pointed questions. She was able to get specific enough that the answers had to be specific. And Grace did a good job of answering them directly and in a way that made Tesla look good and made everyone, I think, happy. So A+ on the interview overall. In terms of the technology sharing, we haven't seen many people use the patents because one of the rules in the patents in it is that if you modify it, you can't sue us in the future. And some companies would rather reinvent the wheel, which I guess they're free to do. A big concern we saw out of China early on was, well, you'll build the factory and 6 months later, you'll find a factory next door making the exact same car for less money. And that has not materialized. The big leaders in China, BYD does not use the same motors. They do not use the same form factor or chemistry of battery. Everything is different. The only thing it has in common is that it's got 4 wheels and it's electric. So a lot of the fears never came true. And the other one, they'll move in and socialize it. Why would they do that? The amount of corporate tax China collects from Tesla is astronomical. They're making so much money just by having them there. And then you asked about exports. China was not a big exporter of cars. And really, they still aren't. I saw a number on Twitter yesterday, and I asked the person to provide a source, but I didn't get one in time, that something like half of all the cars exported are Teslas. And that would make sense because they ship them everywhere. And the other players are just getting up to speed. Now, that might be half of EVs, not half of cars, but the cars that they'd been exporting before were not high-tech cars. They were bottom of the barrel, developing market, discount, not very good cars. And this has completely changed that. So from a reputational standpoint, Tesla moving to China was at least as good for China as it was for Tesla. And it is an absolute cash cow for both the country and for Tesla itself. So maybe that answers it.
Yeah, no, that's very good. You got information that you're sharing that I've forgotten about or didn't know. So two things that she said also, right? The R&D and the design is different than what they're doing in the US. It's China originated. So of course it makes sense, right? Because you need to develop the product specifically to the Chinese market, a very specific market that you're in. But there's that sense that, just tell me about what you think about that the R&D and the design is actually going to be built in China as well. Or like they emphasize that that's the way that they positioned it.
So the LFP batteries for Tesla started in the standard range Model 3 in China. There was certainly a lot of engineering that had to go into it, and it wouldn't surprise me if much of it, if not almost all of it, took place in China, where they could actually get their hands on the vehicle. Because this happened, the Model 3 standard range with the LFP batteries happened at a time when Elon and the executives couldn't go to China. So they had to rely on those competencies that were locally sourced. We know that Elon has said in the past that they want to have a design studio on every continent. Everywhere they have a factory, at least, they want to have a design studio. And maybe that's what we'll see. I'm hoping that's what we'll see with the Compact, is a European design that makes it into production, a hot hatch perhaps, a Chinese design, maybe it's a city car. There could be infinite things you could put on that car at that size. All you have to do is make sure that the front and rear castings fit within the frame, fit within the exterior body, and it would be easy to do. So I'm hoping we get to see more local designs from China and Berlin and Mexico and everywhere they operate. But I haven't seen as much of it yet as I had expected. But then again, we haven't seen new models rolling out. It's entirely possible that a lot of the R&D we're seeing out of China is things that will go into the Highland, which was not announced the other day. But I personally didn't expect it to be. I feel like it's still much too early for that because it would kill the sales of the existing Model 3. And I don't think they're quite ready to switch over to it just yet.
Well, so the rumor was that it was in a production line and that Elon was able to see the first prototype, they called it. If you're in that stage, how long does it take before it becomes ready for sale?
Well, if it's on the line and the line is ready, so it could be that there are two Model 3 lines. It could be that they shut one down and left the other one running. So at half capacity, maybe a little over half capacity, and that the other one is tooling and ready. It would be remarkably easy to get the road testing out of the way on the new model. The crash testing for sure you can do in secret, but the road testing, all you have to do is put camouflage on it. And with that slightly different front end, it might not look like a Tesla at all with a camouflage on it. So it would be entirely possible that if the line is ready, they could have it going in a month.
Okay. And that's what I think is happening, right? So this was news came out a couple of days ago. It said that Tesla China Giga Shanghai production halt in Model 3 update is imminent. And this is Wuhua, right, who does these drone flyovers. And they saw that it was, the Chinese watcher Wuhua, and they've been following the progress of Giga Shanghai since the earliest days. They recently observed that the production of the Model 3 appears to have been halted. The drone operator's footage showed that Giga Shanghai was still busy, but most of the activity was focused on Model Y. Model 3 was strangely quiet. So I'm one who's, too many information, too much came out already that the Model 3 Highland exists, the Model 3 Highland was in production, and that it was Elon who was able to see it. And there's probably going to be an announcement in a month. We've seen the price cuts on the Model 3s. It could just be a normal, variable pricing, but it could also be trying to get, let go of the inventory. So you do believe, you do agree that within a month, that you were just saying you did not expect that everybody thought that they were going to do the big announcement yesterday. That's all you were saying.
Right. No big announcement. I'm not saying it's not ready, and I'm not saying it's not happening. I'm saying they won't announce it until it is ready to rock and roll, because it would just crush the sales
Makes
of
sense.
existing Model 3s, which they could then, I don't know, blow out to Hertz and anyone who wants them for fleets, who doesn't care quite as much what it looks like about having the latest and prettiest. They just want a car, and they want it now. So the difficulty we have with Model 3 and Y counting from the drone footage is that from the air, those two cars look very similar. You have to get, it's not like the S or X where you can spot them from if you can tell it's a car, you can tell it's an S or X, because the back window is different, and the X has the double handles together. But the 3 and Y look very similar from 200 feet. So it's tough to count them. And in his videos, because I watch all of them, he didn't provide anything that would lead me to believe that. I believe him when he says that production of 3 is lower or stopped completely, but I couldn't see it from the air to confirm it myself, because the cars just look like cars. Now, one thing, if you go back just a hair on that video, you'll notice that they've added so much solar panels, but in the far top, so go back even further, right there, that is the Model 3 building, and you'll notice it has no solar panels. They added solar panels everywhere, but not to the single floor Model 3 production area. Does that mean maybe they're going to be remodeling? Maybe they're going to tear it down and make it 3-4 floors like we see for the rest of the building. The rest of the building is 3 and 4 floors, just like it is in Berlin and Texas. That would be one thing they could do to maximize the footprint of that factory.
I'm laughing because I love you, man. It's like you notice these things that I would never have figured out. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Like, oh, look at that. That's okay. I love it.
Yeah, because I looked
Why
at it
did
and I was
they-
like, why didn't they put any there? It's a beautiful flat space. Oh, right. That's Model 3. They might be tearing it down.
Okay. What? Tell me more about Giga Shanghai. So we're seeing a flyover. This is most recent. This happened just
So that little
recently. I mean,
area
it's-
of dirt on the right side of the screen is
Mhm.
outside the factory. That had been used as like an office yard and storage of materials, and it's been cleared out, and all the concrete's been torn up over the last month and a half. This would be a very easy candidate to just pop in a megapack factory, because it's definitely big enough, even if you just consider the space that they were already occupying, which I don't think they had a long-term lease on. I don't think it's their land. I think they were just borrowing it for a bit. But that whole area to that side of the factory is open. It was a watermelon farm, and now it's just dirt and grass.
How do you know these things? How do you know that it was a? Are you just joking? Was that a joke?
No, you could see it in the early footage. It was a watermelon farm.
I love it though, because you just noticed that they cleared it out. So that means they're getting it ready. So
For
one of the things I
something.
wanted to ask you was, I'm confused. So explain to me what's going on. Okay. It says this is a report that the reason he went to Shanghai, one of the reasons was they want to get approval for the Giga factory expansion plans. But the part that I'm getting confused was it said here that here. When they initially, a few months ago, they had actually asked for a second approval for a second assembly line, but it failed to get approval from the Chinese authorities.
Isn't
And
that
the
weird?
new line was expected to double the capacity of the Shanghai plant to 2 million units. So why did they disallow this approval for a second assembly line, but then now the rumors is they're going to be able to get a whole plan for an expand this factory in total.
Sure.
What? Tell me the
So
details.
the first thing to bear in mind is that this article is getting one huge fundamental fact wrong. They
Okay.
think that adding one line would double the capacity. That assumes that the factory only has one line. The factory probably has 5 or 6 lines right now, 2 Model 3 and 3 or 4 Model Y. So adding one more line would not double the capacity. But why indeed? Is it environmental concerns? No. Is it too much power draw? No. It's posturing. It's political posturing. We don't want you to add a line. We want you to add a factory. And if
Right.
denying that permit is going to make you fly out here and give me some FaceTime, I'm going to deny the permit. That's my theory.
I like the theory. I like it a lot.
Because have you ever heard of a permit being denied in China? That's not a thing.
You're so good. I love
I've
you.
been doing
man.
this a little while.
Well, maybe it's a little too long, man. That's a watermelon part. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just like
Yeah.
so sitting there confused, going, what? It doesn't make sense. And then now you made it make sense. Okay. All right. Well, let's take a look at inside the factory. I don't know if you have a lot of knowledge about much about this, but let's take a look at, I wanted to be more complete. So Giga Shanghai surprisingly allowed and invited the media, the mainstream media in China to come in and videotape the entire factory. And I'm like, what? They're so transparent. And they went through and they showed all of this. This is how they friggin' build the cars. Every single step. They had free reign. They walked up and down. The entire video showed this. But it's like, it's just brilliant how they did this. And by the way, just an aside, I've been interviewing Dr. Scott Walter, the robotics expert. He co-founded 2 robot companies. And every time we show this video, he says, stop. See that thing that human is doing? Tesla bot can replace that. And there's so many great parts here that he points that out. But this is like, they're showing you everything. Look at that.
Yeah.
Do you have any comments on this? And any?
Well, yes. In high school, I took a physics class, and in it, the teacher showed us how to make a nuclear bomb. And a student raised his hand and said, hang tight a second. This is common knowledge. And he said, yes, the physics is common knowledge. Implementing it is extremely difficult. You can look it up. It's not a secret. It's common knowledge, because seeing how they do it and copying it are 2 very, very different things. You look at China's domestic jets, passenger jets. They look just like a 737, but you don't see them much outside of China. And the reason is, even though it looks like a 737, it gets 8%, 10% worse gas mileage. The fuel economy is not there, which means even if you got this plane for free, it would cost too much in the long run. So just being able to make a copy look authentic doesn't make it authentic. It doesn't bring in the efficiencies and all that. And if you were to hire an absolute wizard like Sandy Monroe to watch every single thing they're doing here, document it, and show me how to build a factory, all you would know how to make is a 2023 Model Y factory, not a 2026 whatever my car is factory that's better than what Tesla has then. Tesla's a moving target. What we're seeing here is Tesla's old technology. They're showing you how to make an iPhone 5, and that's not going to help you build an iPhone killer today.
Thank you. So let me show you this part. This part here is quite interesting. Scott Walter made me pause when we got to this part here. Let's take a look. Hold on. Sorry, guys. This one right here. Okay. So this is a worker. Okay, wait. I just have to scrub it a little bit. Okay. His job is to feed these little parts, and then these big industrial production robots grab it, and then they use it. And you're surrounded by these gates. Watch this. He walks in. Oops, he made a mistake. He presses stop because he went in when he wasn't supposed to go in. It's too dangerous. You see, the robot was still there. So he had to reset it. And then he came back. Okay, I reset it. Now I'm allowed to go in and put it in now. That's a human worker. That's all what he does all day long, 3 shifts a day. And so Scott said, hey, see that part? That can be replaced by a bot right now. Right now, with just what the skills of the bot is today. And you don't even need to have these gates anymore, these fences. And part of that is causing, square footage. Anyways. Oh,
you'd put one of the bots on each station, and then you would have a autonomous, I guess, what would you call it? Like a little parts bin that just pulls up behind the Tesla bot at each station, so that there's always enough parts for them to grab and move on.
No, it's what they're doing right now.
Yeah, they wouldn't be as fast as him, but he's doing multiple stations, and you just put one bot on each station. And as far as charging goes, he could be plugged in or put an inductive charger under the floor mat that he steps over and just stays charged 24/7. That would be an application that is just about ready to go, isn't it?
But that's the first video I've seen of inside a Gigafactory where you saw everything. You saw the seats, you saw how they delivered the parts, how they, both the production robots, industrial robots, as well as just humans, touching the cars and checking for quality. They walked up and down the entire line, versus most of the videos we've all seen is PR marketing videos, just slick, with a drone flying through, beautiful. It makes it look gorgeous. This is what's going on.
This is no filter. At the shareholder meeting, I was able to see final assembly. We were not allowed to have cameras in final assembly. I held back to the back of the group, and these kind folk who definitely don't know who I am, kind of corralled me personally. So maybe if they don't know who I am, they're doing a very good job of making sure nobody gets any pictures from inside there, which is unfortunate because I don't think there was any secret sauce in there. I don't think there was any safety violations in there. And it was very interesting. But at least I got to see it.
You got to see it, buddy. Okay. So, his visit to China was very, very successful. In 44 hours, he met with all of this. I didn't even ask you about the cattle chairman, Robin Zhang. What's going on with that? Is he, obviously, this is the largest electric vehicle battery maker in the world. What's he doing? Is he just shaking hands saying thank you? Or you're the one that actually pointed out that cattle built a factory within sight of the Giga Shanghai. They needed to be closer together. So this is a strengthening of the relationship, locking down long-term contracts.
I'm sure it is that. I'm sure there is a discussion of, are you building one in Nuevo Leon yet? I imagine that's lined up. I imagine he would rather say verbally, without it being electronically recorded, that we're considering factories here or here. Are you ready to go? Because that would be a very good use of that time. But also just strengthening the relationship. Like you said, just getting face to face and being able to say, thank you for everything. Let's keep doing this is hugely valuable.
It's just another thing to solidify that Elon has tremendous relationships with the Chinese government. Look at this: foreign minister, MOFCOM minister, MIT minister, CCPIT chairman, Shanghai Municipal Party secretary, Chen Jining. It's like, and apparently one of them was like, I think the third top, politician. This is serious. This is serious stuff that they're doing. What do you think? What do you think they're doing? What kind of when they're shaking hands here? It's not just hello. Sure. What kind of agreements are being agreed to?
So one thing I think is critical is getting self-driving legal
Yes.
to use in China. As you may know, you are not allowed to drive your Tesla onto a government base because it has cameras and they can record. And they do not want those pictures, those videos from inside Chinese bases going back to the wrong hands, whether that's the US government or someone who could intercept them. So a big thing they could do is use, for example, Baidu's cloud service to create a second version of the FSD training suite. That would be something that Tesla's engineers, their software engineers, could very easily manage and could very likely, using the R&D guys in China, could implement without too much work. If their concern is data safety, the privacy of government secrets, this would be a very easy step to overcome that massive hurdle that's standing between broader implementation of FSD and its related technologies in China. So I think that conversation absolutely came up.
Wow, Brian, yet another thing I didn't even think about. So in order for Tesla to roll out FSD in China, they would probably need to create, you're saying, separate fork,
A walled
take
garden,
the technology, but don't,
yeah.
it's got to be a walled garden. The
Sequester
databases
the
need to
data
be, the
within
data center
China.
needs to be in China. And like you're thinking Baidu? Your
Well,
guess?
that
Would be
that was a, yeah, they're a very big, very powerful provider. It'd be, I can't imagine Tesla would want to host the data themselves. It feels like too much data.
Yeah. Well, do you remember just a couple months ago, they made an announcement that Tesla created a brand new entity called Tesla Energy, wasn't it? In China.
Oh, okay. I
You
didn't
don't remember
remember
that?
that, but no.
Okay.
But that
Okay.
sounds right, but
That wouldn't be associated with this at all. Okay.
no, I think that would be for the Megapack expansion. And that's something he would definitely be talking with those various ministers about, because stabilizing the grid is critical. And I think a big key to stabilizing the grid in the future will be vehicle to grid, but only on LFP models where the battery can handle it. Because the last thing you want is somebody to buy a car, put it in their garage, make $100,000, $200,000, racking up 0 miles, and then get a brand new battery under warranty because it's got no miles on it. So you got to be careful about that too.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. I swear, if you're watching this, you're in the audience right now, don't tell me that you did not get brighter today. And not only did you not get smarter, but I laugh more when I'm with you, Brian. Thank you very much. Please follow him on My Tesla Weekend on YouTube. He's got his own channel and he goes deep dive, and you can see every one of his videos. There's some nugget I don't know anything about. Thank you so much, Brian.
Pleasure as always, Herbert.
Bye.